Claudia Calzaretta, the District 5 Florida Scenic Highway Coordinator. It's truly wonderful to have you all with us today. The Roadside Chat series was developed as a way to connect and draw the Byway community closer together during this pandemic and to share valuable information such as today's topic. This series is open to everybody, so please share far and wide. Nobody is precluded, everybody's invited. If you have a topic of interest that you would like us to investigate and have it presented, share it with us. And if you have a contact, that's even better. That way we can make direct contact with that person. Our speaker today is the ever wonderful Maggie Ardito. Maggie is an active advocate for trails and cycling. You probably have heard, if you're from the area, who Maggie is. Maggie believes that active mobility and safe, bikeable, walkable places are the keys to a healthy, active, self-reliant, and sustainable future for individuals and communities alike. She advocates low-speed, pedal-assist bicycles, cargo bikes, folding bikes, and any other personal transportation innovations out there. She also serves on the board of directors for the River of Lakes Heritage Corridor National Scenic Byway, which happens to run parallel and adjacent to the St. John's River to Sea Loop in many areas. And I want to mention that 7 of my byways in District 5 are on the St. John's River to Sea Loop, which is a total of 260 miles. So a little bit more about Maggie. After a very long career with the high-tech companies such as Harris and Computer Sciences, and owning a government contracting company that specialized in data and knowledge management, she is now enjoying an active semi-retirement. I chuckle because she's very active, believe me. In 2004, after 35 years as a software and systems engineer that included 3-year tours in Munich and in Seoul, she founded a company specializing in enterprise information architecture and semantic technologies, providing consulting services to help national intelligence agencies make better use of their information. Since retiring, Maggie and her husband Jim have focused on cycle touring, trail exploration, and advocacy. They have explored many of the destination trails in Europe and in North America, studying various approaches to bike friendliness. Maggie hails from Missoula, Montana. She holds degrees in math and computer science from the University of Denver, with graduate studies from Purdue and Rutgers. And currently, Maggie and Jim reside in DeLand, Florida. So we're going to, if we haven't already done so, Karen's going to mute everybody to minimize any disruptions. We do ask that if you have any questions, just kindly put them in the chat box if you want, or hold off to the end after Maggie has concluded her presentation, and we'll take live questions. So without further ado, Maggie, take it away.
And Maggie, I just unshared my screen, so if you want to share your presentation, you can go ahead and do that.
Okay, thank you. I will do that right now. Hold on. Okay, tell me when it comes up. Is it up?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm Maggie Ardito, and we would like to wrap up the talking part in about 20 to 25 minutes, so we have time for questions. So we'll hop right on our bikes and start pedaling. This map shows the focus area that we're going to be talking about today, and we're primarily talking about the green sections on here. This is using the Department of Transportation's color coding schemes, where green means completed trails and the other colors mean they are incomplete. So don't mistake them as recommended routes. They are incompleted sections that are still in planning or development, or maybe out year stages. So we're talking about the green sections in Volusia, North Brevard, North Seminole, Putnam, St. Johns, and Flagler counties. And These are multi-use trails that we're talking about. So that means they are paved wide trails, suitable not just for bicycles, but for hiking and running and for all sorts of mobility devices that people might have. Okay, but before we jump in right into the trails, I want to kind of zoom up about a couple thousand feet and back a few years to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are in this area. So this is the Florida Greenways and Trails System Plan. This comes from the Office of Greenways and Trails, which is under the Department of Environmental Protection. So they're really responsible for maintaining the long-term vision, not just of multi-use trails, but also of paddling trails and of the Florida National Scenic Byway, which is a hiking trail that you can see in brown there. So this is sort of the vision and the guidance of where we are going with our long distance state trails. When it comes to the implementation of those trails, this is where the Department of Transportation takes over. And this is just one portion of the Sun Trail network. And we're pleased to have Robin Birdsong, who manages this wonderful Sun Trail network, in the audience. So again, we're talking about the existing trails being the green ones. And on this particular graphic, if you look down at where Titusville is in the kind of the middle right, that's where we talk about the two top priority Sun Trails beginning. So that is the Coast to Coast Trail, which you might be able to see a kind of a very pale lavender buffer around that, and the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. So those are our two top priority Sun Trails, and the buffer around them means that that's kind of the area where we will be where DOT and other designers will be looking for right-of-way in the incompleted sections. So as you can see, the two top priority trails run together from Titusville to DeBerry, where the Coast to Coast splits off and runs south through parts of Orlando, Winter Garden, and on to Claremont, and finally to St. Petersburg. The other 260-mile trail, the St. Johns River to Sea Loop, heads north from DeBerry up to East Palatka, then across to St. Augustine and back down the eastern seaboard to Titusville. So we're first going to start talking about this area, which is the south part of the loop and some of the other connecting trails right in the area. On this particular map, and all the maps are on our website, and I'll be talking more about how you can locate the maps later on. The little houses with flags on them represent trailheads. So we'll be talking more about how you can find the trailheads along the two trails as well. But you can see here that there's just a lot of green in this area, which is why we're so proud of this and consider this area to be kind of central Florida's trail hub. And in fact, between Titusville and where the two trails split in DeBerry, there is only one very small gap. That's a 3.5-mile gap that we call Gobbler's Gap. And that is due to be finished within weeks. And we hope to be holding a ribbon cutting toward the end of May on that section there. And when that section is complete, it will be easy to ride the whole 55 miles from DeBerry to Edgewater or to Titusville. And in fact, then you will also be connecting from all those cities down into as far as Claremont. So really a really long and beautiful section of all trail biking possibilities. We are particularly proud of our Spring to Spring Trail, which was one of the building blocks for both the Coast to Coast and the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. It runs from Green Springs to De Leon Springs and includes the spur that goes down to Lake Monroe Park. And along this section across the top of the lake, we have the shared route of 3 really iconic destination trails, the Coast to Coast and the River to Sea Loop, and also the Lake Monroe Loop, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on. Yeah, so this is a sign that we developed recently that will be going in at DeBerry Station. We hope in the month of May, and we'd like to have the ribbon cutting for this sign at the same time that that we have the ribbon cutting for the Gobbler's Gap. So that would be a second cause for celebration in May. So we are really excited about that. These are signs that Volusia County designed and received FDOT approval for, and they are now already installed all along the shared route of the Coast to Coast and the St. Johns River to Sea in Volusia County. We think they're very beautiful signs, as well as being very functional because they help with navigation. And Volusia County has really taken the lead on getting signage up, and they've offered this design which did take some discussions to get approved, to all the sun trails to use this sign design. So kudos to Volusia County for getting that done. Like I said, they're done on the shared corridor, and they are already planned to go into the River to Sea Loop and in its routes to the north and south of the Coast to Coast Trail. We've worked really hard to get publicity, and it's really starting to pay off. One of our legs of our mission is to do promotion, and we work really hard on that with our website and social media presence. The Spring to Spring Trail was in fact awarded March Trail of the Month by the Rails to Trails Conservancy, so that's really a huge honor. And also the city of DeBerry was named Bike Friendly Community of the Year by Florida Bicycle Association. And a lot of that is because the city of DeBerry has been very active proponent of trails. Not only do they have the Sunrail station, but they've got a very complete and long-term vision for a mobility plan. So DeBerry's doing really, really well on that as well. I said I would show you how to reach any of the maps that we've been talking about. The 2 maps on the left are just of the loop. One is an ArcGIS map, and the other is a Google map. The maps in the middle then include the entire Sun Trail network plus some other trails. And then on the right, we have some things that are called story maps. And these really are not so much for navigation as they are for telling you why you should go to one of our trails. So there's one about trailheads and camping, and the second one is about historic and natural scenic sites along the corridor. So this is our trailheads, and I just happened to pick Southwest Volusia. Again, you can see the 2 gaps there. The DeBerry Gap that runs from where the trail ends at Dirksen Drive up to High Banks in West DeBerry, and then the purple gap at the top is from Lake Beresford Park up to where the trail picks up again at Minnesota and Grand Avenue. And all along there we have these wonderful trailheads. We have the Osteen Trailhead, the Green Springs Trailhead, which I'm going to show you in a minute, Thornby Park, which has a accessible playground. We have the wonderful DeBerry Hall Historic Site, which now has a trail information center and a wall-sized, touch-sensitive map that you can navigate and see the entire loop. At Gemini Springs, there's actually 2 trailheads that right in the park itself, and then the Dirksen Drive trailhead. Then at Lake Monroe Park, there's a trailhead, a kayak launch, and also a campground there. there's a trailhead at West Blue Spring Avenue, and Blue Spring Park isn't really considered a trailhead because there is a fee to enter. But you can park at the end of West Blue Spring Avenue, and there is a nice trailhead there. At Lake Beresford Park, again, there's lots of parking and facilities and pavilions there, and also a fairly new trailhead at the George and Nadine Fichter trailhead, which is just in North DeLand on Humane Society Road, and that's a good trailhead if you want a all-on trail ride all the way up to De Leon Springs. And the De Leon Springs segment was just recently completed, and it's very beautiful up there. There's one leg that goes directly into the park, and then there's another leg that goes off into a very wooded area and ends at where the current trail construction ends at Highway 17. So this is what happens if you can click on either one of the images, or you can click on one of the points on the map, and they will bring up a larger image and information and links to more information about the particular trailhead. So that's the trailhead tab. So you can see there are 3 tabs across the top, and and here's a summary of all the trailheads. This is actually on the printed map that we have that we make available on our website, and it lists all the trailheads around the loop and the facilities that they offer and whether there is overnight parking there. Okay, on the camping tab, we also list the campgrounds that are available around the loop, both commercial campgrounds and the regional community and state and regional parks for camping, and provide information about those. So that's the camping map. This is the one that I mentioned that's about the things to see around the loop. So you can see there's tabs for historic sites, for the Bartram Trail, which we've just done some studying in a joint project with Enterprise Museum in Stetson to identify Bartram sites that are accessible from the trail, and same with African American history sites. We just completed our Lost History Week, which I wish I had time to tell you about because it was really a very interesting project that we did. But there's just not time to go into that right now. So, so we are pretty excited about this whole area of South Volusia, North Seminole. There's just a lot of active trail development and trail-oriented activities going on around here. So in addition to the 2 major top priority sun trails that I've been talking about, there's also the Lake Monroe Loop, which there's a beautiful completed trail that goes south from Osteen all the way down to basically the bottom of the map. And then there's an incomplete but planned section along Highway 14. And in the town of Sanford, within the last, I'd say 10 days, they have completed the Seminole Lakeshore Drive, all the way from downtown Sanford out to where it connects to the coast to coast. So we just had a wonderful outing there, family outing, where we started in Sanford. We rode all along the lakeshore. We took our 8-year-old grandson and the rest of the family. Went out to the zoo, toured the zoo, had a great time at the zoo, and then went back to Sanford and took advantage of some of the wonderful restaurants and spots that are available in Sanford. So that's a really nice excursion that I would highly recommend that everybody add to their itinerary. In addition, on the other side of Lake Monroe, the city of Deltona is very active. It's now one of the state designated trail towns, and they are, and also a state designated trailhead, which is the planned Lakeshore Eco Village trailhead on Lake Monroe, which is just going to be fabulous. They're going to have accommodations that are going to include cabins and campsites and some treehouse oriented cabins, and dining and a bike shop and a kayak launch. It's just going to be really exciting and a real international draw, we feel. In addition, DeBerry is planning their Main Street, and I mentioned they have a very extensive mobility plan that goes all the way out to where there's a new acquisition of land at Alexander Island on the riverfront. And of course, the Sunrail station is there, so people can take their bikes on the train up from Orlando, or of course, in reverse, you can put your bike on the train and go down to Winter Park to ride around, or any of the places in Orlando. So that's a real asset, and we are really looking forward to when we have the Sunrail station near DeLand, and building a similar connection out to the Sunrail station in DeLand. So like I said, Southwest, there's a lot going on in Volusia that we're quite excited about. We have a really, really good relationship with the Scenic Highway program, the Department of Transportation's awesome Scenic Highway program. As Claudia mentioned, there are actually 7 scenic highways that either follow or cross the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. And one of the closest, and the closest to us, and one that we have an especially synergistic relationship, is the River of Lakes Heritage Corridor, which is just recently designated a National Scenic Byway. And as you can see, it really follows closely along the St. Johns River to Sea Loop, and I'm on the board of directors there as well. And we really are getting a lot of interest and benefit out of this partnership. One of the things that we have planned is, I mentioned the sign going in at DeBerry Sunrail Station. This is actually a 3-panel sign, which has not just the St. Johns River to Sea Loop map, but also the River of Lakes Heritage Corridor map, and the city of DeBerry with some of its highlights. Sailforth Production helped with it actually did the artistic design on all these, and we think they're just beautiful. We're very proud of this and can't wait for it to be installed at DeBerry Station. I mentioned the Bartram Exploration and the Lost History Week that we just had. This is one of the displays that were on exhibit in Enterprise Museum. As you probably know, William Bartram explored all the St. Johns River in the late 1700s. And so, of course, you can visit a lot of the sites that he documented by boat on the St. Johns River, but you can also visit them by bike on the St. Johns River to Sea Loop and along the River of Lakes Heritage Corridor. So there's 3 ways to experience the Bartram Trail. And it's really a lot of interest in Bartram now, and especially what's just coming to light is his experiences with the Native Americans that he encountered and the friendly relationships that he had with a lot of the Indians. And speaking of Bartram, this kind of gives me a good segue to branch up to the north part of the loop, because next weekend is the St. Johns River Bartram Frolic, and this is going to be really exciting. It's of course right along the river in Palatka, and so there'll be boat rides and kayak tours and bike rides and reenactments and storytelling, and we'll be up there with our booth set up, so you can meet us up there. And so I highly recommend that everybody plan for the 17th and 18th up around Palatka. It's going to be a really fun time. And you can see in the lower right there, that's Sam Carr cheering on. He's kind of the founder of the Bartram Trail Society up there, so really good person to know. Okay, so that brings me to the north part of the loop, and we're going to kind of shift direction. We've been going clockwise from Titusville. Now we're going back counterclockwise. There's lots going on the whole Atlantic seaboard, which is also the same route as the East Coast Greenway, which you probably know runs from Maine to Key West and follows along the corridor of the St. Johns River to Sea Loop all the way to Titusville from St. Augustine. So Daytona has been doing a lot of work, and it seems like almost every week they open up a new section. And so it's a really nice ride from Ormond down to the south part of, all the way down to Bevel Road in Daytona Beach. Of course, it's a lot more challenging getting right of way through urban areas. So we're a little spotty along here, but great progress is being made, and you can also ride up along Flagler in Flagler County, all the way from Flagler Beach up as far as Marineland. Then there's lots of work going on in that purple section around St. Augustine, and it may be a while before some sections are opening, but there's been a lot of design work going on, and they're really working hard on it. So the green part again picks up here in around Vermont Heights, just to the west of I-95. And this is actually complete. Not sure why it's showing yellow there, because that is complete. Sorry about that. All the way to Palatka. And then if you cross the bridge, which is a protected bikeway across the bridge into Palatka, then you can easily get on the Palatka to Lake Butler Trail, which is complete all the way to Keystone Heights. So that's also a very beautiful connecting trail that you can take. So as far as trailheads, starting at the west end, we have the Hastings Harrison Preserve trailhead. We have the Armstrong, the beautiful Armstrong Park, and then the Crossroads trailhead. And all three of these offer restrooms and water facilities and picnic tables. So very nice trailheads up there on the North Loop, and that makes a really nice ride up there with dining options in the small town of Hastings, and lots of roadside farmers markets too, so you can stock up on your fresh vegetables up there. So I wanted to get through and speak mostly about the trails that you can ride, but I'd just like to take a few minutes to talk just a little bit about our organization, the St. Johns River to Sea Loop Alliance, our website, river2cloop.org. We're a 501c3 charitable organization, all volunteers. And our mission is really advance, advocate, support, promote, and protect the loop and connecting trails, and to increase active, equitable mobility. So we really have this vision of active, inclusive transportation, wellness, and recreation for all, with bikeable, rollable, walkable public spaces, and just improving community and individual health, well-being, and safety, and building a strong, sustainable environment, community, culture, and history. So this little emblem at the bottom here is what we call our benefits wheel, that tells all the reasons why we think that trails are the building block for the vision statement we had of is above. It supports the active, equitable mobility, the building of community and social connections. It's health and wellness and fitness, and quality of life, environmental sustainability, low impact, high value tourism, strong economy, and safety. So we really think that there's just no downside to trails. If you are wondering why you haven't heard about it, the answer is just limited resources. So if you would like to help with that, you can jump on our website. We have our new, we've launched our new Trail Alliance Partners and Friends programs. And there's information about that on the site. You can look at t-shirts. You can volunteer to be an advisor, correspondent, or any kind of volunteer. And you can also get a printed map, which, as I said, lists the trailheads. So I think I've almost completed on time. And just one more thing, it really, really helps us if you get on our Facebook pages to help us increase our social media presence. And you do that by liking the page itself, which there's two pages. One is the SJR2C page, which is specifically about the loop. And then the FL Greenway is just about trail advocacy in general. So if you would get on those two pages and like the page, like some of the posts on the page, and it really extra helps if you share those posts with other groups or other friends. So that's it. I'm going to turn it back to Claudia now, and we can open it for some questions. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you, Maggie. We have a few comments in the chat box, so I'm just going to read those. Paul says that he really likes the trail signs, and as do I. They're really, really colorful and attractive. Let's see, we got a question. Do you get much pushback from the adjoining property owners regarding adjacent trails?
Oh, that's a favorite question. There is always pushback in the beginning. People, we call them NIMBYs, which means not in my backyard. People think they don't want a trail because the idea scares them. But then when they get the trail, they absolutely love it. And if there's a fence, they demand a gate through the fence so they can get right on the trail. A good example of this happened in DeBerry. A couple years ago, DeBerry just did not want the trail going where it needed to go. And it was really important. We called it the Blue Spring Connector because there was simply no way to get to Blue Spring or any of the north parts of the loop, except riding along Highway 1792, which was very dangerous. So we worked hard to get that one broken off as a separate segment, and people just thought they didn't want it. They thought it would bring in undesirable elements, or who knows what they thought. Now that it's there, they absolutely love it, and they're all biking and walking up to Blue Spring Park all the time, and they think it's the greatest thing that ever happened. So yes, I think it's a matter of not understanding what a trail, the benefits a trail brings, and we are always open to suggestions on who we might talk to advocate and educate and help people understand how much they're going to love the trail once it's in. But I think there's still a long way to go with that, because there's still people, we're having a lot of trouble even getting the right-of-way. The Beresford to Minnesota gap has been a right-of-way contentious issue for some years now. We think Volusia County has an approach that will work, but yes, there's always pushback.
Well, that's a great testimonial, because I think, like you said, most people initially are against it, but I would think that it would add more property value to their properties, because it's a benefit.
It does add property value, and most people love to have their property appreciate. Some are worried that they don't want it, but yes, there's all kinds of statistics, anywhere from 17% to 20% or more based on how close you are to the trail. That property values will improve.
Good. Okay, so we'll move on to some other comments and questions. So Margie asked whether the presentation would be available later, and so yes, this is being recorded, and it will be put on the Central Florida Scenic Byway YouTube channel. And Karen, if it's not too much trouble to ask you to put that link into the chat box, folks could just click on that and see that every roadside chat that's previously been done is already posted in there. And we also offer another program called Roadside Travelers, which is about recording oral histories. So that is also on the Central Florida Scenic Byways YouTube channel. So we'll get that link to you momentarily. Let's see. Okay, so I had asked whether there are water stations and bike repairs along the byway, and you actually touched upon that up in the Palatka area in the north end.
Yeah, and that's of course up to usually the counties to provide that. In some cases, if it's considered a state park, the state has put water and restroom facilities. Otherwise, it's up to the county or the city that's putting in the trailhead. But
Yes.
yeah, people want water for sure. They want shade, and they want picnic tables and restrooms. And we hope when we get bigger and better funded that we'll be able to contribute some of those facilities through winning grants and things. But generally, it's up to the county, and all we can do is advocate for the county and make sure they understand. For instance, Gobbler's Gap is a place. There probably won't be water there for a long time, but at least we can get some shaded picnic tables there, and Volusia County's working on that. So.
Okay, and I wanted to add that the reason the DOT can't fund those things is because transportation funds do not allow it. So it is up to the local communities to come up with those amenities. I just wanted to stress that. So I put the link into the River of Lakes Heritage Corridor National Scenic Byway website. If you take a look at that, you'll find not only do you have miles and miles, if not, hundreds and hundreds of miles of trails, there's also so many things that you could do. For example, folks reach out to me all the time. What is there to do on this byway? Well, the River of Lakes Heritage Corridor website has an area where you can go to, and you can break off bite-sized parts of your day off. So you can look at it, and it'll give you things to do to take up 2 hours or 4 hours or a whole day. So if you have out of town guests coming to see you and you just don't know what to do with those folks, check out the website, and there's some really cool things that you can do there. So those websites are on there. Okay, so we have another question. Is the local government responsible for trail maintenance?
Yeah, and the answer to that is yes. In general, the counties are responsible for it, unless it happens to be a very urban area, in which case sometimes the municipalities are responsible. But yeah, and that in fact is no problem for a county that has lots of tourism going on, but some counties don't have the budget to do it, so sometimes it can be difficult for the counties to do that. But the county does need to agree to maintain the trail if it's going to be built, and that's part of the contractual agreement.
Yes, thank you. So another comment, we have a comment from Robert. He says, we just rode this weekend and saw a very nice air pump and tools at the Maytown and Gobbler trailheads. I did not know that. That's great.
That is good. I haven't seen those yet either, so that's
wonderful.
Very good.
So another comment, my goodness, these trails are wonderful. Are trails efforts like this happening elsewhere in the state?
They are in some parts happening very much. It's usually if a nonprofit is really active or some organization is really active, they can help it along as we are doing. So yes, it's happening all over, but it's kind of not universal yet. We would love for there to be an active state advocacy organization for Florida State Trails. I think we had that in mind when we started, but it turns out to be a lot to take on.
Yeah, it's a big effort, no doubt about that. So we have a comment from Paul. Paul says, like the use of the term equitable mobility, and that is one of the core values of your mission.
Yes, it's true. That is really important to us. We've studied a lot of what's happened with transportation planning in Europe and in the U.S. and in a lot of cases, it has not been equitable the way transportation has shaped up, and not everybody can get to a trail. Not everybody can get to public transit, and there are lots of places where it's very dangerous to even cross a road, much less to ride your bike along the road. There are some acts before U.S. Congress right now to change that. It's called the Transportation Alternatives Enhancement Act, the Safe Streets Act, and the Complete Streets Acts, and we are lobbying with a number of organizations to get attention to those things so that they do become law, because that kind of change, if it comes from the top as well as from grassroots, then it can actually stick, and that's what we're hoping will happen. It really needs, of course, a lot of funding to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a big portion of it.
Well,
so I've gone through all the material in the chat box. The YouTube channel is in there, so you can click on that and you'll see Maggie's presentation later today or tomorrow posted, as well as all the previous ones. If anybody wants to ask any questions, you could probably raise your hand, and then we could ask you to go ahead and verbalize your questions. Okay, so let's see. Amy says, what are the regulations regarding e-bikes, and which are considered non-motorized and which are considered motorized and unable to use sun trails?
I can answer for Volusia County because we worked with Volusia County to make that, but it's really up to local trail jurisdictions to do that. So statewide, any e-bike is allowed any place. A bicycle is allowed as long as, as long as there are no regional restrictions. However, in Volusia County, on sun trails, the rule is only Class 1 e-bikes. Now, the difference between the classes are as follows. Class 1 e-bikes must be pedal assist, and the assistance must stop at 20 miles an hour. Class 2 e-bike is a throttle-driven bike, which is really more like a motorbike, and Class 3 is one that's pedal driven, but it tops out at 28 miles an hour, which is, all the Volusia County trails have a top speed limit of 20 and in most cases 15. And we think that's plenty fast enough to be on a trail. So we do not want Class 2 and 3 e-bikes on our trails. So that's the rule on our trails here. The other counties have not taken that step yet that I know of.
Very good. And I do not see any hands up.
Could I jump in with another comment about equitability that's happening right now, if we have a minute?
Yes, absolutely.
So, of course, in DeLand, the River to Sea Loop runs about 4 or 5 miles to the west of downtown. And we also have a greenway that runs north and south from Stetson University, but there is no connection between the two. And we're working really hard to get a connection that's between that downtown greenway and the loop and the new DeLand Sunrail station that will be coming, and also the Stetson Aquatic Center out on Lake Beresford. And we would really, in terms of equitability, like to see that go along Voorhees Avenue, which is an area where we have some funding for CRA development. It's on the edge of a very underserved area of town that we would like to bring up some. And so that's one aspect of equitable mobility that we think that we can have an impact on and make that connection. And we're actually hoping to get enough city support that we can go for a grant to help with that.
This is wonderful, great information. And let's see, I see somebody typing. So while we're waiting for this person to type, I'm going to once again let everybody know that you can access this presentation on the YouTube channel. If you have any topics that you'd like to see, by all means, send me an email. If you have any comments, critiques, anything you want to say, send me an email. I like to make this the best it can be. Let's see, we got a couple of comments here. Stephanie says, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so people are piping in and they're saying thank you very much, and so folks are logging off. All right, well, Maggie, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Claudia, and thank you for the help, Karen and everybody.
Good job, Maggie.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Maggie.
Bye, Maggie. Have a great day.
Okay.